Well, good morning to our viewers for the regular TravelMole COVID-19 interview, and I'm delighted today to have somebody from an island, a country, a tropical paradise that really has no COVID-19, hardly at all, and they've done an excellent job in controlling the disease, and are now starting to open up their borders to receive visitors. And the young lady that's going to answer all these questions from me today and explain everything is Oddny, who is the Travel Trade Marketing Manager for the UK. Welcome, Oddny.
Thank you. Good morning, Graham. And thank you for inviting me.
No problem. Now, you're in Reykjavik. Is that correct? You're not in London?
Yes. Not in London. I'm in Reykjavik, Iceland.
Reykjavik, Iceland. Good. I'm turning into an Icelander here.
You are.
Yes.
Very good pronunciation.
So, what's the current state of tourism in Iceland at the moment? We read lots that you are opening your borders, that you're keen and eager to move on. Perhaps you can clarify everything for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, at the moment we haven't opened yet. We aim to open on the 15th of June. Of course, we are still waiting for clarification how the process will be designed to prioritize safety mainly. That will work both for visitors and the Icelandic people. The Minister of Health has a working group that is dedicated to COVID-19 and the opening of the borders. And the chief, and now let's see if I got my English right, epidemiologist,
yeah, very good,
is set to share his recommendation with the government shortly. And once those decisions have been made within the government, it will be released. And we are guessing next week we will have more details on how and when, well, how we're going to open the borders, and is there going to be testing, quarantine, all the measures.
I think it's the practicalities of life in travel once the borders are open, are things that taxes people's brains at the moment about, will I have to spend 4 hours in the airport being tested, going through various levels of, do you have it? Do you have a temperature? What's your history, etc., etc. So I suppose that's really the thing that puts people off. Is that what your government is working on, and what those processes will be?
Exactly. Those are the main questions, and of course these are the questions that we get from everywhere. So those are the questions that are they're trying to answer at the moment, and will be released, as I say, probably early next week.
Now, in terms of airlift, have you had discussions with airlines about opening up Iceland Air? Whoever it might be, coming into Reykjavik, because it's Reykjavik before all this was gaining a reputation as a sort of a mid-Atlantic hub. The low-cost airlines would come in there and then fly off to North America, or even off to the Far East, and with lower fares. What's the situation with the airport and with the airlines? Right.
Well, the airport is of course working very hard, getting measures in that will help people stay safe, and that's the priority for everybody. Iceland Air is of course ready to take off once everything has opened, and they have already mentioned a few cities. Iceland Air has been flying to the UK, to Sweden, and to one airport in the US. So they have been flying a bit, and I am guessing once the testing process has been put in place, we are confident then that this will soon return to more or less normal stage.
So what's your strategy in terms of reopening? Are you just going to say, right, we're open, anybody can come in, as long as you pass these tests, anybody can come in? Or are you focusing on UK nearby European market, and then maybe going for a longer haul? What about North American market would be very important for you as well? have you worked out a strategy on the, if you like, on the stages of how you're going to open up?
Well, no, not really, because this, of course, also depends on when are other countries opening up their borders. And we are seeing, I mean, UK has put in place now the quarantine for 14 days once you arrive to the UK. But Denmark says it's opening its borders. Sweden has already opened borders. Germany is also opening borders. So of course, those will be the countries we fly to, to begin with. But it is the EU Schengen countries that are on the focus at this point. And once the borders open in the US, it will be the same. But
okay.
we're not gonna say this one can come and this can but it depends on opening of borders.
Sure, and in terms of inbound tourism to Iceland itself, then obviously a 14-day quarantine in the UK would be bad news. But do you know if the government has started to open up discussions about one of these air bridges, which people, I don't really know the detail of what an air bridge is, but I get the concept. I understand that the UK is talking to other
I am not
European.
aware of that.
No,
at this
okay,
moment.
All right. So what have you been hearing from your stakeholders, the hoteliers, the attractions and so on? Are they all going to be in good shape? Are they all up to date with the latest health and hygiene levels?
Yes, they, as anybody else, are of course preparing for opening, and there is some level of optimism, and it was a relief when we heard that the borders would open. I mean, we've kept close contact to our stakeholders in Iceland for the whole time, and it's been a lot of uncertainty, and of course many companies have had taken measures to, with almost no income. A lot of people have maybe been laid off or are on the government assistance package with the wages, but there is optimism, and we have sent out weekly newsletters both within Iceland and internationally with all vital information on the procedures, and we will keep on doing that, but also with interesting things, keeping people alert what Iceland is about and what we're doing. So we've tried to keep the momentum going still. So
that's very good, because as far as the UK is concerned, of course, every one of us is staying alert, because that's what the Prime Minister has asked us to do. So we're very alert. Yeah. And I'm sure we're very receptive to messages from Iceland. Talking of which, what form will your marketing, or has your marketing taken, in terms of reassuring people if we visit Iceland that we're going to be personally safe, everything's clean? Have you put that into your marketing messages yet, or will you do so?
Well, one of the things that the government came out with, one of the packages, was actually a new marketing initiative for Icelandic tourism. And this is now in planning, and we will be announcing shortly.
Secrets then. Whoa, we like secrets from Iceland.
Well, you can't reveal everything.
Now, as far as Iceland is concerned as a destination, it's built up a reputation of northern lights, of going into hot mud, of having nice food, etc., very hospitable, but also sustainable. Sustainability is a key factor in if you like, in the post-COVID world. What does Iceland tourism think of that? And do you think over-tourism has been an issue, or could be an issue for you?
So the tourism industry in Iceland has grown, of course, as you know, and as you said, and the country has worked very hard to implement measures to create a more sustainable and conscious approach, a transition from fossil fuels to 99% renewable energy, seasonal and eco-friendly approach to farming and cuisine, and measures and pledges, the Icelandic pledge, which encourage people for, responsible tourism. Sustainability is very deeply embedded in everything that we do and in the Icelandic culture. And those that visit Iceland, we do encourage them to take those measures. We expect a trend in remote and a bit of isolated escapes now and therefore recommend visitors traveling to Iceland to visit the lesser visited regions of Iceland, with sparse landscapes and fewer people, which will then help spread tourists around and keep social distancing. And it's not very hard to keep social distancing in Iceland, truth be told.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, you mentioned the government has given you, and the tourist board is starting a new marketing campaign, of which is top secret. But has the government given you extra money? I mean, tourism is obviously a very important a part of the economy to the country now. Have they given you more money? Are they supporting the industry solidly?
Well, they took many measures throughout, and there have been kind of 3 packages introduced. And of course, it was not only tourism that was affected, but many companies within tourism industry were affected. So many, most of those measures would help, those companies and the workforce. So they took crucial steps, and it has been actually, I just have to say, it has been very pleasant actually to follow the cooperation between the government, the public health system, and Decode Genetics, which is a private company, and the effort and time, to spend on every level to keep us informed on everything that has been done during this pandemic. So I would like to give them a big applause for that.
Good. Well, that must be almost unique in the Western world of the government working closely with tourism bodies, because more often than not, they don't often recognise the importance of tourism, that's very encouraging. So, in conclusion, from a UK market perspective or an Icelandic perspective, you're happy that from June the 15th, you'll be receiving and potentially sending people to other countries whose borders are open without any quarantine. Most of those will be in the European community. Those like Denmark you mentioned. The UK is out of bounds until the 14-day quarantine is over, more or less, and that will progress solidly over the next 3 or 4 months, hopefully when the quarantine is taken away. And we should all be excited about this secret marketing campaign.
Thank you. Yes. So are we. Of course. So are we.
Good. Okay. Well, Oddny, thank you very much. I think I can try and pronounce it in Icelandic. It's Pakapir Fyrir. Is that right? No.
Þakka þér fyrir.
Pakapir Fyrir. There you go. Excellent.
Yes.
Marvelous. Oddny, thank you very much, and I wish you the best of luck with your marketing campaign and the future of tourism in Iceland.
Thank you, Graham. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.